Chapter 1425. The old celestial master had never been easy to deal with. It was impossible for a kind old man to lead the rise of the celestial master mansion and become the leader of the Taoist sects after Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji went to the Daluotian 500 years ago, when there was no order in the pugilistic world. In fact, the era after the disappearance of Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji was more chaotic than the era when the Kunlun devil cult dominated the world. When the Kunlun devil cult dominated the pugilistic world, it was only chaotic in the early stages. However, not everyone in the Kunlun devil cult was a homicidal maniac. As long as you followed the rules of the Kunlun devil cult, you would be fine. Therefore, the pugilistic world was chaotic at that time, with the Kunlun devil cult controlling everything. After the disappearance of Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji, the pugilistic world attacked the devil cult. That was when the world was in chaos. At that time, the previous celestial master had died, and it was the time when the old celestial master took over the power of the celestial master mansion. At that time, the martial artist did not feel that the old celestial master was kind. Therefore, when he heard Chu Xiu agree, the old celestial master immediately said in a deep voice, "Cult Master Chu, what are you going to do? The celestial master mansion will cooperate fully." Chu Xiu thought about it and said, "It's easy to deal with the mysterious heaven realm, but we have to consider the three pure temple behind them. Therefore, we have to do our best to make the matter bigger. The bigger the better." The old celestial master said coldly, "Is it like what you did in Eastern Qi? That's easy. This old man still has some power in West Chu. I don't need to go to every force like you did in Eastern Qi, Cult Master Chu. I can guarantee that as long as the Celestial Master Mansion opens its mouth, 80% of the forces in West Chu's pugilistic world will rise up. As for the other 20%, the moon-worshipping cult probably doesn't like the Daluotian martial artists either. Cult Master Chu, if you come with me to the moon-worshipping cult, you will have a 90% chance of convincing Yi Xiaonan. My Celestial Master Mansion and the moon-worshipping cult are both West Chu's national religions. If our two sects make a move, the West Chu imperial court will follow. When the time comes, we will besiege the mysterious heaven realm and change the color of West Chu." Chu Xiu was stunned by the old heavenly master's words. He had never seen the old celestial master being so radical. He had never seen the old celestial master so with such radical actions. A series of plans were arranged. He was even more nimble than when he was in Eastern Qi. After all, Chu Xiu was not a warrior of Eastern Qi. He only had strength, not prestige. If the old celestial master acted according to his plan, he would be able to change the color of West Chu's face in an instant. Chu Xiu coughed and said, "I'm not talking about this. I'll just use the same plan once. This time, I'm not only targeting the mysterious heaven realm, but I'm also targeting the three pure temple, so that they won't dare to look down on the martial arts world of the lower realm. I didn't want to make a move against the Sanskrit cult, but this time, if we don't see some blood, it will be a waste of our plan. Old Celestial Master, West Chu is too small. Even if we do as you said and bring everyone here, it will be useless. Those sects and the West Chu Imperial Court are too weak. Why don't we look at the long term?" The old Celestial Master's expression changed. "For example?" Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and said, "For example, Northern Yan and Eastern Qi. With my order, the Northern Yan martial artists will gather, and the Kunlun devil cult will also gather in West Chu. I can influence the Eastern Qi martial artists, but you old Celestial Master are more influential. If you show up, the real martial arts cult and the Chunyang Dao sect will not give you face. And I heard that you seem to be friends with the Ying family's old ancestor. These people will gather in West Chu. If they do, they will let the Daluotian know the power of the martial artists in the mortal world. When we just came to the mortal world, they said that we are of the same origin. But what about their hearts? They still don't take us seriously. Contempt and prejudice are always in their hearts and eyes. Respect and respect are not earned with words, but with fists." The old celestial master looked at Chu Xiu in shock. Just now he was talking about the same as what Chu Xiu did in Eastern Qi. He was talking about power, betting that the other party would retreat for the sake of reputation. But the kind of trouble Chu Xiu talked about was actually huge. Although he did not say it explicitly, Chu Xiu's actions showed that he wanted to destroy the mysterious heaven realm. However, Chu Xiu's words made the old celestial master, who had long been calm and collected, feel his blood boiling. Respect were never earned with words, but with fists and knives. Just like when the Daluotian came to the mortal world, he was ignored in the Three Pristines Temple for more than 2 hours. And now, the mysterious heaven realm did not take the celestial master abode seriously. However, the old celestial master was experienced and prudent, so he still had some rationality. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, the old celestial master said in a deep voice, "You can deal with the mysterious heaven realm, and you can suppress Bai Yuchen in the myriad Dao divine palace. But what if the Three Pristines Temple intervenes? To tell you the truth, Cult Master Chu, I went to the Three Pristines Temple before I came here, but I was rejected. Without the Three Pristines Temple's permission, the mysterious heaven realm wouldn't dare to go too far." Chu Xiu sneered and said, "If they want to intervene, then so be it. But do you think the Three Pristines Temple will intervene? Or to what extent would they dare to intervene? We're not targeting the Three Pristines Temple, but the mysterious heaven realm. If the Three Pristines Temple intervenes, they can only mediate. Would they dare to join the battle and become enemies with the entire mortal world? Don't forget that the Dao Master isn't here. Without the Dao Master's instructions, they wouldn't dare to do so. Whether it's Zheng Tai or Hua Gongbi, they wouldn't dare." The last time he went to the Three Pristines Temple to trade, he realized that the Dao Master's prestige in the Three Pristines Temple was beyond imagination. Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi were powerhouses at the 8th level of the heaven, and they could control a top sect in the outside world. However, Chu Xiu found that they didn't have the slightest opinion. To be precise, once it involved the Dao Master's orders, or involved the domain controlled by the Dao Master, they would become like this. Chu Xiu couldn't understand whether they respected the Dao Master or feared him. Anyway, the Dao Master wasn't here. Chu Xiu was 90% sure that the two temporary leaders of the Three Pristines Temple, Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi, would definitely not dare to drag the Three Pristines Temple into the battle between the mortal world and the Daluotian. Seeing that Chu Xiu was confident, the old celestial master didn't hesitate anymore. He said in a deep voice, "I'll go to Eastern Qi to gather people during this period of time. When will we attack the mysterious heaven realm?" Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "There's no hurry. We now represent the entire mortal world, so we naturally can't just attack directly. We have to find an excuse. This is called having a good reason. How is the reputation of the mysterious heaven realm in West Chu? I'm not talking about the Three Pristines Temple, but the other sects?" The old celestial master hesitated. To be honest, the mysterious heaven realm is very well behaved most of the time, and they don't go too far. After all, there are rules set by the Three Pristines Temple. Although the mysterious heaven realm doesn't care as much about its reputation as the Three Pristines Temple, it won't go too far. Chu Xiu touched his chin and said, "They are well behaved most of the time, but does that mean they don't follow the rules in a small part of the time? It's hard to find someone doing good, but isn't it easy to find someone doing bad? Old Celestial Master, feel free to contact the martial arts world of Eastern Qi. I'll send someone to deal with West Chu." The old Celestial Master nodded and said, "All right, but the Kunlun Devil cult is now a big tree that attracts the wind. If your subordinates enter West Chu, I'm afraid they will be recognized." Chu Xiu laughed when he heard that. "Old Celestial Master, don't worry. The sacred sect is full of talents. We may lack other things, but we don't lack people." As he said that, Chu Xiu waved his hand and transmitted a few words to his subordinate. Not long after, a handsome young martial artist wearing the black warrior suit of the Kunlun Devil cult with a long sword at his waist strode into the hall. The current Kunlun Devil cult was indeed a big tree that attracted the wind. Not including Chu Xiu, Lu Fengxian, Lu Jianghe, and the others were actually not unknown people after several battles. Even in the Daluotian and the lower realm. Even the elite hall masters of the Kunlun Devil cult like Tangya and Yen Bugui were the same. They had distinctive characteristics and would definitely be recognized. However, the young man in front of him had the cultivation of the early stage of heaven and earth elemental enlightenment. He was very young, and his face was a little unfamiliar. At least, the old celestial master did not recognize him, so he should not be a senior member of the Kunlun devil cult. When did the Kunlun devil cult produce such a young talent? Chu Xiu waved his hand and said, "This is a disciple of the sacred sect, Yi Xiao. He has received part of my inheritance. He is meticulous and skilled in doing things. I'll leave this matter to him." As he said that, Chu Xiu said to Yi Xiao, "Bring some of the disciples who have never left the sect to West Chu and find a way to blackmail the mysterious heaven realm. At the very least, you have to give us an excuse to attack the mysterious heaven realm. Remember, the time for this mission is a little tight. It must be completed before the old celestial master returns." The old celestial master could not stand it anymore. He quickly said, "Cult Master Chu, you're making things difficult for us. If the mysterious heaven realm really behaves well during this period, and you don't have anything to blackmail us, what can you do? This kind of thing depends on luck. If I go to Eastern Qi, we can buy some time." Before Chu Xiu could say anything, Yi Xiao shook his head and said, "Thank you for your understanding, Celestial Master, but the people of the sacred sect are not so rigid. If there is a blackmail, we will find a chance to blackmail them. If there is no blackmail, we will create one ourselves. So, Celestial Master, don't worry about us. If I can't even do such a small thing, how can I go back to the sacred sect and see the cult master?" The old celestial master looked at Yi Xiao speechless. Where did Chu Xiu find such a young and talented disciple? Most importantly, this group of people had been trained by Chu Xiu. There was clearly something wrong with their way of thinking. They might not have learned anything else, but they were very familiar with Chu Xiu's unconventional way of doing things. It was fine if there was only one or two people like that, but if the entire Kunlun devil cult was made up of people like that, even the old celestial master would be afraid, even though they were allies. Chapter 1426. In a large hall in the West Chu Xiantian territory, a young Taoist priest wearing a black and gold robe and a black jade crown was reading the information sent by the disciples of the mysterious heaven territory. He was handsome and masculine with a touch of sharpness. His cultivation had even reached the third heaven of martial immortal. He was Bai Yuchen's personal disciple, Fengyu. He was also the designated successor of the mysterious heaven territory. Bai Yuchen wanted to borrow the Taishian Dao realm from the Three Pristines Temple to help Fengyu, a third heaven martial immortal, reach the fourth heaven. In fact, Fengyu was quite a proud person. He was also from a Taoist sect. He did not think he was inferior to Su Guishan and Fang Yizhen from the Three Pristines Temple. Even without the Taishian Dao realm, he could reach the fourth heaven sooner or later with his own foundation. Why bother asking the Three Pristines Temple? Although the entire mysterious heaven territory basically followed the Three Pristines Temple's lead, in fact, not many warriors in the mysterious heaven territory were willing to truly submit to the Three Pristines Temple. After looking through the information, Fengyu could not help but shake his head and say, "This lower realm is a bit too barren. Most of the so-called major sects' inheritances were not worth mentioning 10,000 years ago. The celestial master mansion that master personally took care of was not famous among the Taoist sects 10,000 years ago. It was only famous for the Thunder sect. I didn't expect it to become the leader of the Taoist sects in the lower realm. What a joke." A disciple beside him said, "Actually, this is also because the West Chu land is too remote. However, Master, I found out a few days ago through a wind organization in the lower realm. The Four Symbols sect actually still has inheritances in the lower realm." Fengyu raised his eyebrows. "Oh, Four Symbols sect? They were quite famous in the ancient times, but why haven't I heard of them in the lower realm?" The disciple said, "Because the real Four Symbols sect was actually destroyed in the ancient times. Now, there is no real Four Symbols sect in the pugilistic world. What is left are only four sects that obtained the inheritance of the Four Symbols sect. Their names have also changed. Among them, the Blue Dragon Society has become a lowly assassin and has been absorbed by Chu Xiu's Kunlun devil cult. The White Tiger Hall had submitted to the imperial court and was no longer a force to be reckoned with. The Black Tortoise School did not inherit the true formation path of the Four Symbols divine sect. Instead, They were more proficient in the refinement of machinery and other messy things. Only the Vermilion Bird Pavilion had inherited the pill recipes and secret arts of the Vermilion Bird lineage of the Four Elements divine sect, as well as the secret art of rebirth through fire refinement. It's a pity that even the Vermilion Bird Pavilion doesn't know how to use it, wasting the inheritance of the Vermilion Bird lineage of the Four Symbols divine sect. Feng Yu's eyes immediately lit up. Our mysterious heaven realm doesn't lack pill recipes or secret techniques, but I've heard of this flame refinement rebirth secret technique. By refining the heart flame into one's body and infusing it with vitality, no matter how severe one's injuries were, one would be able to release vitality when bathed in the heart flame and recover instantly. This secret technique could even be used on the primordial spirit, which was quite rare. Bring your men to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion and trade with them for the secret method of rebirth through fire refinement. The disciple was taken aback. But that's the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's inherited secret technique. Will the Vermilion Bird Pavilion agree to it if we just go there to trade? How strong is the Vermilion Bird Pavilion in the lower realm? Feng Yu asked. The disciple replied, they're a little weak, so they can't be ranked. How about compared to the Celestial Master Mansion? There's no way. Feng Yu flicked his sleeves and snorted coldly. That's it. We can even touch the Celestial Master Mansion in the mysterious heaven realm, let alone the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. Previously, due to the suppression of the Three Purities Temple, the mysterious heaven realm didn't do anything too excessive after descending to the lower realm. But now that Bai Yuchen had brought his men to touch the Celestial Master Mansion, the Three Purities Temple didn't respond at all. This also made the other mysterious heaven realm cultivators think. The entire Dao Ocean mysterious heaven realm, the second strongest Dao sect, was extremely afraid of the Three Purities Temple. They didn't dare to disobey the Three Purities Temple's orders. Since the Three Purities Temple didn't care about this matter, what else did they have to fear? Let's go, bring our men to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. In the dense forest outside the mysterious heaven realm, Yi Xiao stood in the distance and watched Feng Yu lead the mysterious heaven realm disciples in the direction of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Qi Yuanli of the wind-sweeping tower stood beside Yi Xiao. For some reason, he suddenly felt that Yi Xiao's smile was very similar to that of cult master Chu from back then. Qi Yuanli hadn't seen Chu Xiu for a long time. With Chu Xiu's current strength and status, he, the vice tower master of the world's #1 wind medium force, was just a small wind medium in front of Chu Xiu. There was no chance for him to see Chu Xiu again. That was why he felt that Yi Xiao resembled Chu Xiu. He didn't know if he resembled the current Chu Xiu, but at least he resembled the Chu Xiu from back then. Others might not know Yi Xiao's identity, but Qi Yuanli did. This young man didn't seem to be famous in the underworld, but he was the only person in the underworld who had obtained a portion of Cult Master Chu's inheritance. It was enough to say that he was half a disciple of Cult Master Chu. Just this identity alone was already very shocking. Yi Xiao turned his head and smiled at Qi Yuanli. Tower Master Qi, I've troubled you this time. The sacred church will remember this favor. Qi Yuanli smiled bitterly. Vice Tower Master, I'm just a Vice Tower Master. Young Master Yi, you're too polite. However, if the mysterious heaven realm finds out what I've done, our wind-sweeping tower will be in trouble. Our wind-sweeping tower is just a group of wind mediums. With the strength of the mysterious heaven realm, they can probably crush us with one finger. Yi Xiao said indifferently. What are you afraid of, Tower Master Qi? The information you gave to the mysterious heaven realm is real. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's inheritance isn't real? The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's current situation isn't real? Since it's all real, why are you afraid of the mysterious heaven realm finding trouble with you? Moreover, it's unknown whether there will be a mysterious heaven realm in the underworld after some time. Qi Yuanli's expression became extremely shocked when he saw Yi Xiao's unfathomable smile. It was obvious that he had thought of something. Yi Xiao looked at Qi Yuanli with a smile that didn't seem like a smile and said indifferently, Tower Master Qi and the Cult Master are old friends, so I believe in Tower Master Qi and the Wind-Sweeping Tower's reputation. Moreover, Tower Master Qi, don't forget that we're both sects from the lower realm. Whether it's the mysterious heaven realm or the Three Pure Palace, they're both Daluotian sections. We're not on the same side. So Tower Master Qi, I believe you know which side the wind-sweeping tower will stand on. I won't say any more. Qi Yuanli quickly nodded. Yes, yes, yes. Of course I know. Yi Xiao waved his hand and said in a deep voice, since that's the case, I still have things to do, so I won't say any more. If Tower Master Qi wants first-hand information, then don't return to Eastern Qi for now. Just take some people and observe the surroundings of the mysterious heaven realm. There will be a surprise after some time. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xiao and the elite disciples of the Kunlun devil cult behind him turned into a black light and disappeared, trailing far behind the mysterious heaven realm martial artists. Qi Yuanli couldn't help but sigh as he looked at Yi Xiao's back. Talented people appear in every generation. Qi Yuanli had personally witnessed the era when Chu Xiu's name shook the underworld. Now the younger generations of the Kunlun devil cult were already so outstanding, and Chu Xiu was already a demon master who could dominate the entire underworld. This made Qi Yuanli feel a little emotional. Was it time for him to retire? The underworld was too dangerous. He wanted to retire. As one of the four spirits, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion did not have a big reputation in the underworld. The members of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion were all women, and they were very good at refining pills and healing techniques. Thus, they opened up a large medicinal field in the depths of the 100,000 mountain range, refining pills and cultivating in peace. Thus, over the years, no matter what happened in the underworld, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion could not be affected. In addition, the martial artists of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion never left the mountain to roam the underworld, so it was quite peaceful. Now that the Daluotian martial artists had descended to the lower world, the underworld was in chaos, but this did not affect the Vermilion Bird Pavilion at all. The only impact was that because the Daluotian and the lower world were connected, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's medicinal field had a great harvest, and many spirit herbs that had gone extinct before were growing in the depths of the 100,000 mountain range. This was good news for the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. At this moment, inside the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery red tassel dress with a curvy figure was in the medicinal field, instructing the disciples of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion to pick various herbs. She was the current Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master, Su Qiutong. She was not very strong, only at the heaven and earth elemental enlightenment realm. Furthermore, this was because of the essence Qi wave, which increased her strength. Otherwise, she would only be at the early stage of the true fire spirit refinement realm. A disciple hurriedly ran over to report. Pavilion Master, people from the mysterious heaven realm are here, and they want to see you. Su Qiutong's eyes revealed a hint of doubt. Why is the mysterious heaven realm looking for me? Could it be that they also want to buy pills from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion? Although the Vermilion Bird Pavilion traded pills with many martial arts forces in the lower world, in her opinion, the mysterious heaven realm was a top Daluotian force, and they should not be interested in the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pills. Su Qiutong entered the main hall with doubt, and with a bright smile on her face she said, Esteemed masters from the mysterious heaven realm are here. I hope you don't take offense. The moment he saw Su Qiutong, Feng Yu's eyes immediately revealed a hint of surprise. It was not that he had not seen women before, but he had never seen a woman with such a stunning temperament like Su Qiutong. Dao sects did not accept women, and in other sects, there were very few women who could reach the peak. Moreover, although most women were beautiful, their beauty was purely based on their physical appearance. Su Qiutong's beauty lay in her mature and elegant temperament. Although her strength was nothing in the Daluotian world, in the lower world, she was the pavilion master of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion for many years, and her temperament was far from what ordinary women could compare to. Chapter 1427. Although Su Qiutong was stunning, Feng Yu was the successor of the mysterious heaven realm. He naturally wasn't here for a woman. Feng Yu smiled. I'm here today to make a deal with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. Su Qiutong thought that Feng Yu was really here for the elixir. She thought that she had just received a big deal. She immediately revealed a bright smile. What kind of elixir do you want? The Vermilion Bird Pavilion has everything. Feng Yu shook his head. No, I'm not here for the elixir. Then why are you here? Feng Yu said in a deep voice. To trade for the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's fiery rebirth technique. Su Qiutong's expression changed. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion wasn't good at martial arts that involved killing. This was because when their ancestors obtained the ruins of the Four Symbols Divine Sect, the part of the martial path related to fighting and killing was missing. However, the fiery rebirth technique was one of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's most important secret techniques. It represented the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's true foundation. How could they trade it? So Su Qiutong refused without even thinking about it. Please forgive me. The fiery rebirth technique is the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret technique. We won't trade it, nor will we teach it to outsiders. Feng Yu shook his head. Pavilion Master Su, it's not that my words are harsh, but the fiery rebirth technique is useless to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. I understand your Vermilion Bird Pavilion. You don't usually participate in the fighting, and you don't even have the chance to be injured. What use do you have for this secret technique? On the contrary, the mysterious Heaven Realm has many powerful techniques that can help you reach the martial immortal realm. You can choose any of them. Su Qiutong shook her head. I'm sorry. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion only cultivates our own techniques. We don't care if it's good or not. We don't need it. Feng Yu suddenly revealed a smile at Su Qiutong's unyielding attitude. Pavilion Master Su, you said the secret technique isn't taught to outsiders? Then if I want to marry you and become your cultivation companion, wouldn't I be considered an outsider? Su Qiutong was taken aback. What did you say? Are you joking? Feng Yu said indifferently. Pavilion Master Su, do you think I'm joking? I'm serious. This humble Taoist's master is the mysterious Heaven Realm Sect Master, Bai Yuchen, and I am the next successor of the mysterious Heaven Realm. I believe that this identity won't disgrace you, Pavilion Master Su. Dao companions were not husband and wife, but they were more like husband and wife. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly separately. Dao companions are people who support each other on the path of cultivation. In the future, when I ascend to the ninth heavens of the martial immortal realm, I can also bring you to the peak. Su Qiutong was able to become the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master. Although she was a woman, she was also a powerful woman. She had never thought about relying on a man. Therefore, Feng Yu's current appearance did not make her feel that he was very lofty. Instead, she felt that he was extremely conceited and arrogant. Not to mention the possibility of him becoming the strongest person in the nine heavens in the future. Just the fact that he used the name of his own sect to pressure others made Su Qiutong somewhat look down on him. However, Su Qiutong didn't dare to offend Feng Yu. She could only say tactfully, "It's me who doesn't deserve you. I've never had any extravagant hopes of becoming a martial immortal." The smile on Feng Yu's face gradually disappeared. He stretched out a hand and said lightly, 5 days. Su Qiutong was stunned. What 5 days? Feng Yu said indifferently. I'll only give you 5 days to consider, Pavilion Master Su. I won't say threatening words. It's beneath my dignity. I'll give you 5 days to investigate the mysterious Heaven Realm and see the strength of the mysterious Heaven Realm. At the same time, I'll give you the chance to find out what happened to the Celestial Master Mansion and let you see the style of the mysterious Heaven Realm. I'll give you the choice. Either you trade the secret technique of rebirth through fire refinement, or you and I become Tao companions. I'll take your secret technique and help you become a martial immortal. There's no third choice. After saying that, Feng Yu flung his sleeves and stepped into the air. He completely ignored the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's formation and left. As the successor of the mysterious Heaven Realm and the most outstanding young martial artist of the Tao sect, Feng Yu didn't want to ruin his demeanor over such a small matter. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion can investigate the strength and status of the mysterious Heaven Realm yourself. You only have the right to choose. You don't have the right to refuse. Su Qiutong clenched her teeth in anger. For so many years, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion had stood aloof from worldly affairs, and they were all women. Hence, The people of the pugilistic world would give them some face. Even the top sex wouldn't bully them like this. Especially when Feng Yu wanted to force her to be his Dao companion. That made her feel even more humiliated. However, Su Qiutong didn't need to investigate to know the strength of the mysterious heaven realm. They didn't have the right to refuse. At that moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Pavilion Master Su, are you furious? You can consider cooperating with me. Who is it? Come out. Su Qiutong yelled. She suddenly realized that the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's formation was like a sieve. Anyone could enter and leave at will. Yi Xiao walked out of the hall. Even with Su Qiutong's current strength, she didn't notice when Yi Xiao walked into the hall. Who are you? Yi Xiao smiled and cupped his hands. Kunlun's sacred sex Yi Xiao greets Pavilion Master Su. Su Qiutong was shocked when she heard Yi Xiao's identity. Who in the pugilistic world didn't know the reputation of the Kunlun devil cult? Who didn't know the demon lord Chu Xiao? He was the only powerful existence in the pugilistic world, who could wrestle with the Dao ocean forces and make them lose face. Mr. Yi, why are you here? Do you want the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret techniques? Su Qiutong smiled bitterly. Yi Xiao shook his head. The Kunlun devil cult has countless secret techniques. We don't lack one or two. I saw what happened just now. The mysterious heaven realm is so overbearing that it has caused the West Chu pugilistic world to complain. Now the sacred sect is ready to seek justice for the entire West Chu pugilistic world. But we lack a good excuse. The Celestial Master Mansion has some conflicts with the mysterious heaven realm. And because we are too powerful, we can't use it as an excuse. Pavilion Master Su's Vermilion Bird Pavilion is very suitable. So, I'm here to ask if Pavilion Master Su is willing to join forces with the sacred sect to fight against the mysterious heaven realm? Su Qiutong's eyes widened. She knew what this meant. It meant that Chu Xiu was ready to join forces with the entire West Chu pugilistic world to fight against the mysterious heaven realm. Once she spoke, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion would become the fuse of this matter and become the focus of attention. It could be said that if she agreed, it would be equivalent to standing on the side of the Kunlun devil cult and becoming enemies with the mysterious heaven realm. If the Kunlun devil cult lost, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's fate could be imagined. Su Qiutong couldn't help but ask, "Can I refuse?" Yi Xiao stood with his hands behind his back and laughed. "Of course you can. It's just an excuse. If the Vermilion Bird Pavilion can't do it, I'll find another one. Yi Xiao can't threaten a woman. If I do, the sect lord won't forgive me. To put it bluntly, if you can't find an excuse, then don't use it. Just attack the mysterious heaven realm." If Feng Yu was arrogant, then Yi Xiao was confident. He was confident because of the existence of the Kunlun devil cult. Su Qiutong thought about the humiliation she suffered and the fact that she didn't even have a choice. When she saw Yi Xiao's attitude, Su Qiutong only thought for a moment before nodding. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion is willing to stand on the side of the Kunlun devil cult and attack the mysterious heaven realm. Yi Xiao smiled. "Thank you, Pavilion Master Su. I'll stay in the Vermilion Bird Pavilion as a liaison. Once the plan starts, I'll immediately attack." 5 days later, Feng Yu, who was in the mysterious heaven realm, waved his hand and called a disciple over. "Is there still no news from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion?" The disciple shook his head. "No. Not a single disciple from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion has come." Feng Yu rubbed his chin. The women from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion were really stubborn. Or did they not know what kind of existence the mysterious heaven realm was? At that moment, another disciple came and said that Bai Yuchen had called him over. When Feng Yu arrived at the main hall, he saw that Bai Yuchen's face had darkened. The other mysterious heaven realm martial immortals also had ugly expressions. "Master, what's wrong? What's wrong? Look at what you've done." Bai Yuchen threw a piece of paper at Feng Yu. Feng Yu took a look and saw that it was actually a document that stated how overbearing and unreasonable he had been in the mysterious heaven realm. He had forcefully bought the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's cultivation technique and forcefully married Su Qiutong. He had even added a lot of details to the document, making him seem like a high-ranking official. That's pure slander. Feng Yu threw the document on the ground angrily. Bai Yuchen said coldly, "So your visit to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion is also slander?" Feng Yu said solemnly, "I did make a trip to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, but that's what you said, Master. There are many secret techniques left behind in the lower realm from 10,000 years ago. The martial world in the lower realm doesn't know what's good for them, so we should try our best to collect them. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's Fire Refinement Rebirth technique is one such technique." "Did I ask you to forcefully marry the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's Pavilion Master?" Feng Yu explained. "Not as a wife, but as a cultivation companion. I really want to become her cultivation companion. Moreover, if I can become Su Qiutong's cultivation companion, the mysterious heaven realm will have a closer relationship with the sects in the lower realm. It will be easier for us to take in other sections." "Nonsense!" Bai Yuchen shouted angrily. "Look at what's written on the back of the document." Feng Yu flipped it over and saw the back of the document. The mysterious heaven realm relied on the Daluotian forces to go against the law and act overbearingly. They forcefully stole the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's cultivation technique and forced the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master to marry her. They disregarded the martial world in the lower realm and humiliated the dignity of the martial world in the lower realm. We martial artists would rather break than bend our backs. We hereby swear that we will join forces to suppress the mysterious heaven realm, return justice to us, and defend our dignity. The words were signed. Kunlun Devil Cult, Moon Worshipping Cult, Celestial Master Abode, Eastern Qi, Western Chu, Northern Yan, Chunyang Dao Sect, True Martial Cult, Shangshuaying Clan, Sword King City. The long list of names made Feng Yu dizzy. He only knew one thing, and that was that things had gotten out of hand. Chapter 1428. Ever since the Daluotian warriors came to the lower realm, they had been doing one thing, and that was to downplay their purpose of coming to the lower realm and downplay their invaders' attribute. In fact, the Daluotian warriors coming to the lower realm was an invasion. They occupied the territory of the lower realm pugilistic world and robbed their disciples. If this wasn't an invasion, what was? However, the lower realm pugilistic world was not the Daluotian barbarians of 10,000 years ago. They had strength and people, so the Daluotian could not really invade. If the Zenith Heaven really invaded the lower realm forcefully, they would indeed be able to win. However, the problem was that the disciple that they had snatched over. Did anyone know what he was thinking? Were they not afraid that they would betray them and completely destroy the sect? Thus, ever since they descended to the lower realms, the celestial absolute plane had been proclaiming that they were of the same origin, that they were one family, and so on. This was all to dilute the nature of invaders, allowing the cultivators of the lower realms to join them. The heavenly Luo treasure temple had done the best. It had directly taken the Great Light Temple and the heavenly Luo treasure temple in the lower realm, and its strength had skyrocketed. Now that this document had appeared, the mysterious heaven realm had completely become enemies with the lower realm pugilistic world. It had become a tyrannical invader. Most importantly, not only had it angered the lower realm pugilistic world, but it had also offended the Daluotian forces. People were good at dividing their attributes. If you were a Taoist, he was a Buddhist. If you were a righteous Tao, he was a demonic Tao. But now that such a thing had happened, there were only two kinds of people: celestial absolute heaven martial artists and lower realm martial artists. It didn't matter if the mysterious heaven realm caused trouble, but the other Daluotian sects were still developing well in the lower realm. The Star River Martial Arts Academy had recruited many disciples, and the other Guzun lineages had also established their sects in the lower realm. The heavenly Luo treasure temple had even prepared to train Su Yun and the others as official disciples. But the mysterious heaven realm had stirred up trouble here, causing the relationship between the Daluotian warriors and the lower realm warriors to be at odds. What was its intention? It deserved to be killed. Therefore, the moment this document appeared, the mysterious heaven realm had offended both sides. Feng Yu was not an idiot. He broke out in a cold sweat. Putting down the document, Feng Yu shouted, "Master! There was definitely a problem here. When I went to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, I had already investigated it." The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's presence in the martial arts world in the lower bound was extremely low, and it did not have a powerful backer or relationship. Even if I went too far, it was impossible for me to cause such a big impact. There's definitely a conspiracy behind this. Someone is definitely trying to stir up trouble. Bai Yuchen snorted coldly. Do I need you to tell me that? Other than the Kunlun devil cult, which other sect in the lower realm would have such courage and strength? But what could you do even if you knew? Chu Xiu made it clear that he wanted to make a big deal out of this, and you gave him a good excuse to do so. Now he has stirred up the whole martial arts world in the mortal world. Feng Yu opened his mouth but didn't dare to say anything in the end. What he wanted to say was that the main reason why the matter had become so big in the end was because of Bai Yuchen. If he hadn't schemed against Chu Xiu by suppressing the Celestial Master abode, how could Chu Xiu have made such a big deal out of it? Bai Yuchen had never imagined that Chu Xiu was the only one who gave the conditions for others to choose, but no one had ever made him choose. Chu Xiu would not choose. He would only smash everything and let others do things according to his rules. At this moment, a disciple rushed in from outside and shouted, "Sect Master, this is bad. The entire mysterious heaven realm is being swarmed by martial artists from all directions. Our mysterious heaven realm is completely surrounded by them." Bai Yuchen's expression changed immediately. Chu Xiu did not give them a chance to prepare or explain at all. As soon as the document was sent out, he had already led his people to make a move. This meant that he had already made preparations. The document was just an excuse. It was a reason for the Daluotian forces and the martial arts world in the mortal world to see. Send a message to the three Pristines temple immediately. Tell them that the mysterious heaven realm has been framed. It was Chu Xiu who deliberately provoked the conflict between the Daluotian and the martial arts world in the mortal world. He is vicious and wants to destroy the foundation of the Daluotian. The rest of the disciples, move out and activate the formation. Follow me to fight. Bai Yuchen was an expert at the eighth heaven. He had been in charge of the mysterious heaven realm for so many years, so he could be considered to have experienced a lot. In this situation, there was no other way but to deal with it head-on. At this moment, outside the mysterious heaven realm, countless warriors from the lower realm had already surrounded the mysterious heaven realm. The experts of the Kunlun devil cult under Chu Xiu stood at the forefront. Shang Tianliang Lu Fengxian, Lu Jianghe Wei Shiya, Chen Qingdi, Su Tianya, Fang Baidu. Including Chu Xiu, there were a total of 8 martial immortals. This was definitely enough to wrestle with the top Daluotian sections. Moreover, this did not include the people from the High Heaven sect and the Imperial Sky Pavilion. Although the two sects were attached to the Kunlun devil cult, this time they were going to attack the Daluotian sects, so Chu Xiu did not bring them with him. As for the other martial artists, the experts from the sects of Eastern Qi, Western Chu, and Northern Yan had gathered. The major sects such as the Celestial Master Mansion, the Moon-worshipping cult, the True Martial cult, the Shangshuaying clan, and the Sword King city also stood at the forefront. This could be said to be the most united martial artists in the mortal world. Even when Chu Xiu rebuilt the Kunlun devil cult in the past, there were not so many people in the Righteous Path Alliance. Some people knew that the incident with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was a deliberate excuse by Chu Xiu, but others did not know. But it did not matter. Ever since the Daluotian sects came to the mortal world, the sects and forces in the mortal world had been treading on thin ice. Some people chose to join the Daluotian forces, but those who did not want to join the Daluotian sects and wanted to maintain the integrity of their heritage had to be careful. They had to be very cautious about anything related to the Daluotian forces. Now that Chu Xiu's document had been issued, all the martial arts forces in the mortal world had united. For them, it was as if they had found a place to belong. Whether it was the Righteous Path, the Devil Path, the Taoist sect, or the Buddhist sect, at this moment, the only label on them was that of the martial arts forces in the mortal world. Lu Jianghe stood beside Chu Xiu. He suddenly sighed and said, "I really didn't expect that one day our holy sect would have such prestige and be able to gather so many martial arts forces. TSK. What happened to the saying that the righteous path and the devil path are irreconcilable? You say no, but your body is very honest." Chu Xiu said lightly, There has never been such a thing as the righteous path and the devil path being irreconcilable. There is no absolute right or wrong in this world. Today my goal and their interests are the same, so of course they have to listen to me. In other words, if from now on, our holy sect is open to the outside world, we can take all the cultivation methods at will, distribute all the pills for free, and don't interfere in any Jianghu affairs, then we will not be the holy sect anymore. The whole Jianghu will treat us as the real, holy sect. Lu Jianghe shook his head when he heard that. Forget it. What kind of holy sect is that? It's just a sucker. I guess it won't be long before it's emptied. Chu Xiu did not continue to talk nonsense with Lu Jianghe. He said in a deep voice, "Where is Pavilion Master Su of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion?" "Master, he's here." Yi Xiao held Su Qiutong's hand as they walked out from the crowd. "Pavilion Master Su, you should know what's going to happen next." The Vermilion Bird Pavilion is the main character this time. The whole mortal world is here to stand up for you. Don't worry and come out. We will be your support. Su Qiutong quickly nodded and said, "Cult Master Chu, don't worry. Mr. Yi has told me about this." Watching Yi Xiao holding Su Qiutong's hand as they walked down, Chu Xiu touched his chin and said in confusion, "The two of them are together? How long has it been?" Mei Qinglian, who was standing to the side, said in a tone as if she had never heard of love at first sight. Chu Xiu continued to ask in confusion, "But I heard that Su Qiutong refused to be Feng Yu's cultivation partner. Why is she with Yi Xiao now?" Mei Qinglian snorted. "I've seen the information on Wind Sweeping Tower. Feng Yu is not looking for a cultivation partner. He's looking for a servant. If he didn't have the mystic heaven mirror behind him, he would have been slapped in the face. Great Cult Master Chu, you still don't understand women. You can conquer the world with your fists, but can you chase after women with your fists? Yi Xiao is half a disciple of yours. He admires you to the extreme. Not only did he learn martial arts from you, but he also learned how to do things from you. Luckily, he didn't learn from you when it comes to chasing after women. Otherwise his Yi family would have no descendants." Chu Xiu coughed and snorted. He was here to do serious business, not to discuss this kind of problem with Mei Qinglian. With one step, Chu Xiu's figure appeared in the sky above the mystic heaven mirror. The formation was unsheathed, and the saber gleam streaked across the sky. In the blink of an eye, all the nomological powers were distorted. It was as if the entire world had been forcefully split into two by Chu Xiu's saber. A loud explosion was heard. The formation above the mystic heaven mirror started to tremble violently under the saber gleam. In the end, it exploded on a large scale. If it was the Daluotian mystic heaven mirror, Chu Xiu wouldn't have been able to completely tear it apart with one slash. However, after descending to the lower realm, the mystic heaven mirror didn't have much time to set up the sex formation. This formation was only for the mystic heaven mirror to keep up appearances. It was very fragile. "Bai Yuchen, come out and die." Chu Xiu's voice resounded through the void, echoing like the howling of the wind and the roaring of thunder. The martial artists below had mixed feelings, especially those who had joined the alliance of the righteous sects in the past and participated in the siege of the Kunlun devil cult. Seeing Chu Xiu's power now, they completely understood that they and Chu Xiu were already in two different worlds. They weren't even afraid that Chu Xiu would take revenge on them. It was very simple. At Chu Xiu's level, it would be too degrading for him to still remember the little grudges of the past. However, they were allies now. Chu Xiu represented the entire martial arts world in the lower realm. The stronger Chu Xiu was, the stronger the martial arts world in the lower realm would be. Chapter 1429. The Mystic Heaven Realm was ranked second among the Daluotian sects in the northern region. In the southern or eastern region, it was enough to stand at the peak. All these years, the Mystic Heaven Realm had never been attacked. This was the first time. Humiliation. With a furious roar, boundless black water surged out, directly covering half of the sky. Bai Yuchen stepped on the black water and shouted, "Chu Xiu, what are you trying to do? Are you only willing to let rivers of blood flow between the martial arts world and the Daluotian world?" Chu Xiu let out a long laugh and shouted sternly, "Rivers of blood? Today we will fight for the dignity of the martial arts world in the lower realm. Even if rivers of blood flow, we will not hesitate. As martial artists, we cultivate our bodies, nourish our minds, and comprehend the world. With the strength of humans, we seek strength that is comparable to an earth immortal. Why? It is so that we will no longer bow our heads to any existence in this world. The earth cannot suppress us, and the heavens cannot stop us. Now the mystic heaven realm wants to suppress us and act like a tyrant. What right do you have? After cultivating martial arts for a lifetime, no one wants to become a coward. Today, we are here for rivers of blood, for the dignity of the martial arts world in the lower realm. Chu Xiu's words were loud and clear, resounding in everyone's ears. It made the martial artists of the lower realm feel their blood boil. And they kept roaring. The old celestial master looked at Bai Yuchen with a hint of sympathy. What are you talking about? Why don't you just start fighting? Chu Xiu was famous for his ability to stir up people's hearts and stir up trouble in the lower realm. If you asked him to speak, he could even turn black into white. Not to mention that the matter in the mystic heaven realm was already quite dark. Originally, it was a fight in the pugilistic world, with grudges and conflicts. But now Chu Xiu had completely turned it into dignity and righteousness. Bai Yuchen was about to go berserk. He explained loudly. Who wants to ride roughshod over the martial arts world in the lower realm? The matter with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was just a misunderstanding. It's true that my disciple wanted the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret technique, but it was just a transaction. He wants to marry Vermilion Bird Pavilion's Pavilion Master Su, but he also wants to become Dao companions with her. Isn't that normal? Chu Xiu waved his hand, and Su Qiutong of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion stepped out from the crowd. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion was named so. Most importantly, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion stood aloof from worldly affairs, but they still had dealings with the major sects in the Jianghu and had connections. Furthermore, all of their members were women, so it was easy for them to attract sympathy. At this time, if Chu Xiu stood out and said that the mysterious heaven realm had bullied him, not to mention sympathy, some people might even applaud. Standing before the gazes of the many martial immortal level experts, Su Qiutong heaved a sigh of relief. Although she rarely stepped into the Jianghu, she had been in charge of a large sect like the Vermilion Bird Pavilion for so many years, so she was quite decisive. Su Qiutong said loudly, Headmaster Bai said that this matter is a misunderstanding, but I don't think it's a misunderstanding. How could the secret techniques of their own sect be taken out and traded so casually? If someone wanted to trade the mysterious heaven realm's core Dao scriptures, would you agree? Also, although I, Su Qiutong, am a woman, I am also the leader of a sect. I never thought I would be humiliated like this. I can only lament my lack of strength. What's the difference between me and those women who were robbed? Your disciple, Feng Yu, only gave me 5 days. These 5 days are only a choice. I don't even have the right to refuse. After 5 days, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion will no longer exist in the Jianghu. The mysterious heaven realm, a large sect from the Jianghu, is so mighty, so domineering. They decide the life and death of a sect with a single word. My Vermilion Bird Pavilion can't even withstand a single blow from them. In front of a martial immortal level expert, my strength is no different from a weak woman. So today, I can only ask everyone to save my Vermilion Bird Pavilion for the sake of our friendship in the past. Su Qiutong added oil to the fire as she recounted what happened in the past. This instantly caused many of the cultivators in the Jianghu to be filled with righteous indignation. In the past, there were many killings in the Jianghu, and many forces even thought it was normal. If the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was threatened by any force from the Jianghu, most people would remain silent. They would even curse in their hearts, saying that the person who attacked the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was too despicable, actually attacking a woman, and so on. But now, the person who attacked was a Daoyuotian sect. This made them feel like they were facing a common enemy. It was as if their woman was being bullied. Feng Yu stood up and scolded. T. You're talking nonsense. When have I ever threatened you like this? Su Qiutong pretended to be frightened, and immediately took 2 steps back. She was hugged by Yi Xiao. This made Feng Yu so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He was the heir of the mysterious heaven realm, and he wanted to take her as his cultivation companion. Yet he didn't agree and even said that he was a bully. In the end, in just a few days, this woman actually threw herself into someone else's arms. This was a complete humiliation to him. Chushio said coldly, "What? You dare to threaten me in front of me? You don't even take the martial arts world of the lower realm seriously." Bai Yuchen looked at the warriors from the lower realm who had gathered around him. He let out a long breath and stared coldly at Chushio. He said in a deep voice, "Chushio, I've underestimated you. I've lost this round. I only wanted to use the Celestial Master Abode to force you to hand over the Tao scripture, but I didn't expect you to dare to make things so big and directly provoke a war between the upper and lower realms. I can't bear this karma. I admit defeat. I don't want the Tao scripture of the myriad Tao heavenly palace. I will compensate the Celestial Master Abode. At the same time, the mysterious heaven realm will seal itself for 10 years. Be it the Tao Ocean or the lower realm, we will no longer participate in the conflict. Are you satisfied?" Although Bai Yuchen looked confident in front of the three pristine hall previously, he was really afraid at that moment. Chushio was a king lunatic. For such a small matter, he had stirred up the entire martial arts world of the lower realm and provoked a conflict between the Tao Ocean and the lower realm. If things went wrong, it would be a bloodbath in the pugilistic world. In the face of such a huge scene, Bai Yuchen was terrified. He really couldn't bear this karma. Even though the three Pure Palace had promised to support him, Bai Yuchen couldn't bear such a huge karma. Chushio shook his head. He didn't send a voice transmission. Instead, he lowered his voice so that only he and Bai Yuchen could hear it. "Sect Leader Bai, you're the sect leader of the mysterious heaven realm, and an 8th heaven martial immortal expert. How can you be so naive? Are you afraid after seeing such a huge commotion? Do you want to admit defeat? If admitting defeat was useful, why would there be so many disputes in the pugilistic world? I've put in so much effort to create such a huge commotion, but it ended so anticlimactic. I can agree to it, but will the Celestial Master Abode agree to it? Will the martial arts world of the lower realm agree to it? Sect Leader Bai, it's too late. There would definitely be a battle between the Tao Ocean and the martial arts world of the lower realm. In fact, the Taoist master and the leader of the Sanskrit sect had already expected this. The reason why they asked you to stop before they left was because they knew that no one but them could suppress this battle. Now that the saber has been unsheathed, it can't be put back. I, Chushio, am the one who unsheathed the saber, but unfortunately, I'm not an expert at the 9th heaven like the Taoist master, so I can't put the saber back. In every great era, there will always be people who shed blood and sacrifice. Sacrificing your mysterious heaven realm in exchange for the Tao Ocean and the martial arts world of the lower realm to redefine the rules and create a prosperous era of martial arts. Sect Leader Bai, your death in the mysterious heaven realm is worth it. Bai Yuchen felt cold all over. He understood that from the moment Chushio began to plan this matter, he had no intention of leaving the mysterious heaven realm any chance of survival. After thinking it through, Bai Yuchen no longer held any hope. The black light around him flickered and turned into a black water domain that covered the entire sky. At this moment, the great darkness sky and the entire mysterious heaven realm were plunged into complete darkness. Chushio, if you want my mysterious heaven realm to die, you won't have a good time either. Today, even if my mysterious heaven realm turns into a river of blood, I will still completely cripple your Kunlun devil cult. Don't forget, my mysterious heaven realm is not your only opponent. Chushio raised his eyebrows and said, "It's a life and death struggle. Unfortunately, the net of your mysterious heaven realm can catch fish, but can it catch dragons? If you want to fight to the death, you're not qualified." As soon as Chushio's voice fell, he had already used the law embodiment of heaven and earth. In an instant, his huge figure rose into the sky and formed a cross-shaped lotus seal. Bright Buddha's light instantly bloomed, tearing the black water absolute domain apart, allowing the sunlight to shine again. Kill. Under the light, following Chushio's fierce shout, the martial arts sects in the lower realm, led by the old celestial master, Yi Xiaonan and other experts, directly attacked the mysterious heaven realm. Excluding Bai Yuchen, there were only 5 martial immortals in the mysterious heaven realm, while the number of people in the lower realm was almost double. As for the disciples of other realms, the martial arts sects in the lower realm were several times more powerful than the disciples in the lower realm. It should be known that those who came here were the elites of the major sects, and some were even existences at the level of the leaders. In the past, they naturally would not have dared to attack the mysterious heaven realm. But now, with so many experts leading the attack, their courage had multiplied. Chu Xiu used the law embodiment of heaven and earth to form a saber body to break the formation. The saber light that traversed the heaven and earth slashed down. One of the 7 limits, the heaven devourer, had even been displayed by Chu Xiu with a power that was comparable to destroying the world. This saber technique was originally suspected to be related to the ancient demon god. At this moment, when Chu Xiu used the law embodiment of heaven and earth to execute the heaven devourer, its power increased by 30%, and 30% was unique to Chu Xiu's saber power. Bai Yuchen had once fought with Chu Xiu in the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, which was why he knew how terrifying Chu Xiu was. However, Bai Yuchen did not use his full strength at that time. At that time, both sides were just fighting for treasures, but this time, it was a life and death battle. Previously, Bai Yuchen had to divide his attention to take care of the other mysterious heaven realm warriors, but this time, he was no longer qualified to be distracted. In a life and death battle, all the mysterious heaven realm disciples had to fight with their lives on the line. Who could care about others? Therefore, this time, Bai Yuchen finally unleashed his ultimate power and fought with his life. Chapter 1430. Chu Xiu had never come into contact with Bai Yuchen when he was in the Dalu Ocean. However, regardless of his various identities, Bai Yuchen was a very tolerant person. The mysterious heaven realm lay dormant under the 3 pristine palace. It could either resist or completely surrender. However, Bai Yuchen chose not to resist, but he would not completely surrender either. Instead, he endured and accumulated his strength. For example, Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi of the 3 pristine palace were both 8th heaven martial immortals like him. Sometimes they would mock and ridicule him, but he was able to endure it. This was tolerance as a person. He had also been enduring in terms of strength. In midair, Bai Yuchen formed hand seals, and the absolute Blackwater domain appeared around him once again. However, this time, it did not envelop the world. Instead, it turned into boundless black water that condensed under his feet. The Dharma of Emperor Xiantian rose from beneath his feet. Bai Yuchen stood on top of Emperor Xuantian's Dharma idol. There was a strange force around him that connected him to the Dharma idol beneath him. Chu Xiu frowned. He felt that something was wrong. Emperor Xiantian was a god worshipped by the mysterious heaven realm. Although this god was not passed down from ancient legends, he had been worshipped by the mysterious heaven realm for so many years. He was no different from the gods worshipped by other sections. Therefore, Bai Yuchen's current actions could be said to be a little disgraceful. One could stand in front of the Dharma of God or in the middle. However, Bai Yuchen was currently standing on the head of the Dharma of God. This action could be said to be very disrespectful. In the next moment, boundless black water surged into Bai Yuchen's body. His body was like a bottomless pit as he absorbed the entire Dharma of Emperor Xiantian into his body. Moreover, this was not a sudden increase in power. It was as if this power originally belonged to Bai Yuchen, and he was just taking it back. Bai Yuchen had been hiding his strength all this time, making Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi think that he was inferior to them. This made the entire 3 pristine palace lower their guard against him. In fact, with Bai Yuchen's strength, even if he couldn't become a supreme expert of the 9th heavens, he shouldn't be so weak after staying in the 8th heavens for so long. He had fused most of his strength into Emperor Xuantian's Dharma idol, and sealed it away to show his weakness. If he did not have the confidence to break through to the 9th heavenly layer, Bai Yuchen would never have used this power. However, Bai Yuchen had no choice in this life and death battle. Chu Xiu sensed that something was wrong. Before Bai Yuchen could completely absorb the power, he directly attacked and slashed at Bai Yuchen with the heaven-devouring saber. The boundless black water blocked in front of the heaven-devouring saber, allowing the saber to devour the flexible power. However, it seemed to be endless, and no matter how much the saber devoured, there was no end in sight. Withdrawing his lawful embodiment of heaven and earth state, Chushio frowned. The Black Water Sutra of the mysterious heaven realm was as hard to deal with as a piece of sticky candy. The power of the black water was not too strong, but it was very tough. No matter how much it was devoured and destroyed, it still existed. He shook the 6 Paths of Reincarnation bracelet in his hand, and in an instant, the 6 Paths of Saha wheel appeared. The power of the 6 Paths rotated continuously, completely enveloping Bai Yuchen and destroying the power of the black water around him. The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth was a mystique, so it consumed a lot of power. However, the 6 Paths of Saha wheel was not a mystique. For the current Chushio, the consumption of power was already very small. Both sides would continue to fight and see who could outlast the other. Bai Yuchen's face was very dark. At this moment, it was as black as his black water absolute domain. Chushio wanted to waste time, but he could not afford to, because the mysterious heaven realm was already at a disadvantage. The battle between the martial arts world of the lower realm and the mysterious heaven realm was almost a one-sided situation. The disciples of the Kunlun devil cult under Chushio alone were enough to deal with the mysterious heaven realm, not to mention the martial arts sects of the lower realm. Under the leadership of the old celestial master and Yi Xiaonan, everyone attacked in a frenzy. They had already fought their way to the gate of the mysterious heaven realm. The formation at the mysterious heaven realm had been destroyed by Chushio, so they could only rely on some of the trump cards and formation discs that they had brought from the Daluocean to resist. However, it was obvious that this would not be able to resist for long. Fengyu, who was in the mysterious heaven realm, was beaten black and blue by Qingdi. He was vomiting blood, and it seemed that he could not hold on for much longer. Although there were many people in the martial arts world of the lower worlds, only Emperor Qingdi was beating him. According to Qingdi, he hated this kind of guy who bullied women the most. If he did not beat him to death, he would be letting down his fists. Seeing his own sect in such a state, Bai Yuchen finally could not stand it anymore. He let out a long roar, and the boundless black water turned into a long sword that pierced through the heavens and earth, slashing straight at Chushio. At the same time, the boundless black water surged up from under his feet and took the initiative to wrap around the 6 Saha rings of wonder splendor. After absorbing the power that he had sealed in Emperor Xiantian, Bai Yuchen's strength had erupted to the peak of the 8th heaven. At the very least, in terms of aura, he was about the same as Yan Mo, who Chushio had fought in the past. Of course, his combat strength was still slightly weaker. After all, Yan Mo was from the warlike Shiva temple, while Bai Yuchen had to keep a low profile, so he rarely fought with others after becoming the sect leader. As the gigantic sword of Blackwater slashed down, Chushio's third eye opened up on his forehead, summoning the yin-yang essence energy. In an instant, a black and white pillar of light pierced through the void, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. To think that the sword of Blackwater would actually disintegrate. Bai Yuchen made a hand seal, and the boundless black water shrouded him. Emperor Xiantian, bless my body. As the black water condensed, Bai Yuchen's figure could no longer be seen. There was only a huge Emperor Xiantian Dharma idol in Blackwater armor. The Emperor Xiantian Dharma idol punched out, and everywhere it passed, the power of Yin was released to the extreme. Every bit of water vapor in the world turned into black water and surged into it, increasing its power. In the end, the black water turned into black ice, freezing the laws of power, and even the primordial spirit. It was as if a giant demon god had walked out of an ancient glacier. It was incomparably terrifying. Under the powerful force, the 6 Saha rings of wonder splendor directly exploded. Bai Yuchen's voice also rang out like thunder. Do you really think that when I was in the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace, that was my true strength? You're the first person to see this Xiantian battle god idol. It's your honor to die under its fist. Chushio raised his eyebrows slightly. This Emperor Xiantian actually had 2 Dharma idols. One was the Dao Sect's Emperor Dharma idol, and the other was the current Xiantian battle god idol. No one dared to believe that a standard Taoist cultivator, like Bai Yuchen, would actually cultivate a close combat technique. Just how deep was he hiding it? However, close combat techniques were also what Chu Xiu was good at. In the next moment he used the law embodiment of heaven and earth. Chu Xiu's demon god body was not much smaller than the Xiantian battle god idol. Chu Xiu also used the holy demon indestructible body. At this moment, the mysterious physical body technique that combined the power of yin and yang was displayed vividly on Chu Xiu's body. Similarly, when his fist landed, it stirred the void and shook the world. Both of them were extremely powerful. When their fists collided, the entire world trembled instantly. At that moment, the power that erupted from the powerful force had torn the void and shattered the rules. Countless icicles fell, scaring everyone into dodging immediately. They could only dodge and not block. A disciple of the true martial sect thought that the icicles that were like the aftermath of the power did not have much lethality. Hence, he wanted to use his strength to shatter it. However, the result was that he was first frozen into ice by the icicles that were immersed in the rules of power. Then he was smashed into pieces by the falling icicles. At the realm that Chu Xiu and Bai Yuchen were at, they were almost close to the peak of the power of heaven and earth. Even the aftermath of their attacks was not something that ordinary martial artists could withstand. Hence, the old celestial master immediately began to instruct everyone to disperse and not to take on the aftershock of this power head-on. The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth and the enigmatic divine battle avatar were like two gigantic demonic gods, tearing at each other violently in mid-air. Punches and kicks didn't have any excess variations. Both sides were competing with the limits of their strength and the ultimate understanding of their respective powers. This kind of extremely primitive and simple battle, with no possibility of turning the tables, was the most testing of one's power foundation. Hence, Bai Yuchen had thought that he would definitely have the upper hand in the beginning. He had endured humiliation for so many years and sealed all his power in the law embodiment of Emperor Xiantian. Now that he had unleashed all his power had already reached the peak of the 8th heaven. Chu Xiu was only at the 6th heavenly layer. Even if his combat strength was astonishing, his comprehension of laws was powerful, and he had all sorts of divine powers and secret techniques. He could fight against an 8th heavenly layer at the 6th heavenly layer. However, why was it that he was gradually being suppressed when it came to power foundation? Bai Yuchen did not expect that Chu Xiu had already used the power of yin and yang as his basic source of power. In this world, if one were to talk about the foundation of power, what could be more profound than the source of yin and yang? The two huge figures that looked like ancient demon gods fought in mid-air. In the end, Chu Xiu gained the upper hand. He pressed the mysterious sky god of war onto the empty space behind the mysterious sky mirror, and punched out repeatedly. Every punch caused the earth to shake and the mountains to tremble. It was as if an earth dragon was flipping its body. The entire mysterious sky god of war began to shatter under the bombardment of this power. However, in the next moment, Bai Yuchen made up his mind. The mysterious sky god of war was instantly covered in lightning patterns and exploded. Mysterious sky demon slaying thunder. Even the law embodiment of heaven and earth could not withstand the powerful force of the self-destruction of the law embodiment of heaven and earth. Chu Xiu was sent flying and could no longer maintain the law embodiment of heaven and earth. On the other side, Bai Yuchen was in an even worse state. The powerful backlash had already made him spit out a large mouthful of blood. Chu Xiu said indifferently, "Sect leader Bai, you have lost. Resistance is futile. Just give up. I will leave a seed for your mysterious sky mirror." Bai Yuchen did not respond to Chu Xiu. Instead, he replied to Chu Xiu with a hand seal. In an instant, the entire mysterious sky mirror began to tremble, as if something was about to break out of the ground. Chapter 1431. Bai Yuchen knew that he had lost. Ever since he saw Chu Xiu stir up such a huge battle, he knew that he had lost. But losing did not mean that he would give up without a fight. No matter what, Bai Yuchen was still an 8th level martial immortal. After being in charge of the mysterious heaven realm for so many years, he would not be so naive. He knew what kind of person Chu Xiu was. Ever since he suffered a setback in the myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, he had started investigating Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu was famous for his decisiveness and ruthlessness in both the Daluotian and the lower realms. Very few sects that had enmity with him could survive. Chu Xiu might keep his word and leave a seed for the mysterious heaven realm, but what use would that be? Without the protection of an expert, it would be extremely difficult for the mysterious heaven realm to rise again. So even if he lost this battle and the entire mysterious heaven realm was completely destroyed, he Chu Xiu would not have an easy time. As Bai Yuchen formed a series of hand seals, the entire ground was thrown into chaos. A portion of the mysterious heaven realm's martial artists were still relying on their sects to defend, but after Bai Yuchen's actions, they began to abandon their sects and flee. It was unknown what kind of existence was under the ground, but it was actually emitting an eerie cold and baleful aura. Some martial artists accidentally fell into the cracks in the ground and were directly swallowed. Moreover, it was not only martial artists from the lower realms, but also many mysterious heaven realm martial artists who fell into the cracks and were swallowed. Chu Xiu's expression changed slightly. This was definitely not an aura that a human could emit. Instead, it had a trace of a savage aura. A dragon's roar came from below, and the ground completely shattered. A pitch-black azure dragon surged out from the bottom of the mysterious heaven realm sect, roaring between heaven and earth. It was not a flood dragon, but an azure dragon with dragon horns and 5 claws. At this moment, the azure dragon roared to the heavens and the earth. The powerful aura even caused some of the weaker warriors to groan and faint from the dragon's roar. Chu Xiu's eyes immediately narrowed. It was not a real azure dragon. To be precise, it should be a dragon soul. If it was a physical existence, the mysterious heaven realm would not be able to move it from the Daluotian to the lower realms. Bai Yuchen took a step forward and stood on the azure dragon's head. A magic array appeared above the dragon's head, rapidly absorbing Bai Yuchen's power and blood essence to create the body of the azure dragon. The power and blood was not enough to form a complete body, but it was enough to form a dragon core in the azure dragon's internal organs. Chu Xiu could tell that something was amiss. He used the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth once again. The array-breaking pill in his hand slashed towards the location of the dragon elixir. Although the soul of the azure dragon had yet to completely condense a physical body, its every move could draw upon the energy of heaven and earth. With a swing of his dragon tail, the powerful force neutralized the power of Chu Xiu's saber attack. Chu Xiu was even somewhat unable to bear it. Bai Yuchen sneered. "It's useless. Now that I've sacrificed the azure dragon's life force, I will die, you will die, the entire Kunlun devil cult and the martial arts world of the lower realms will die." The azure dragon's soul was the last trump card of the mysterious heaven realm. When the ancestor of the mysterious heaven realm had first come to the Daluotian, he had joined forces with the 3 Pristines temple to kill it. This azure dragon was one of the strongest beasts in the Daluotian 10,000 years ago. It had been killed with the help of the current Dao Master, the mysterious heaven realm, and several other forces. Originally, the azure dragon's body had been divided among many forces, but the ancestor of the mysterious heaven realm had discovered that there was still a trace of the azure dragon's primordial spirit in the body. This matter had been concealed by the ancestor of the mysterious heaven realm. Over the years, the mysterious heaven realm had been secretly feeding the azure dragon's soul, gradually turning it from a trace of primordial spirit into a complete azure dragon's soul. A restriction had been placed on the primordial spirit, so that it could be used by the mysterious heaven realm. There was no need to say who the ancestor of the mysterious heaven realm had left such a trump card to deal with. However, Bai Yuchen had not expected that the opponent that the ancestor of the past had imagined would be used on Chu Xiu instead. As the dragon core of the azure dragon's soul was completely formed, its primordial spirit was covered with a layer of scales. However, Bai Yuchen was now withered like a human skeleton. Bai Yuchen laughed wildly. "Chu Xiu, if you want to destroy my mysterious heaven realm, then we will all die together today. If you want to destroy the foundation of my mysterious heaven realm, then the foundation of your Kunlun devil cult will also be destroyed today." In the past, this complete azure dragon was only killed by the combined efforts of several ninth heaven powerhouses. Although it only has the dragon soul now and can only control a part of its scaly body, it is enough to kill you. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "In that case, the azure dragon's body is very important to it?" "That's right, so what if it's a azure dragon? The savage beast is also a beast, so its body is indeed very important to it. Without the essence soul secret technique and the mysterious heaven realm's formation to nourish its primordial spirit probably won't last for long. So if I destroy its body, how long can it last with just its soul?" Bai Yuchen laughed wildly. "Slay the azure dragon's body? How arrogant! Although I can't push this azure dragon to its peak state with my strength and vitality, my physical strength is enough to kill you." As Bai Yuchen's voice fell, the withered azure dragon waved his hand. In an instant, the azure dragon roared, and the power of heaven and earth around it danced wildly. It was even the embodiment of the power of the laws humans needed to cultivate step by step, from body refinement to chi refinement, then to spiritual refinement and enlightenment. Only by comprehending the laws of heaven and earth, and stepping into the martial immortal realm, could one control the world. However, the azure dragon was a powerful creature born of heaven and earth. It could control the power of the laws from birth. When the azure dragon appeared, the world changed colors. The clouds followed the dragon, and the wind followed the tiger. The endless dark clouds in the sky surrounded the azure dragon. The black raindrops contained extremely purine energy, and each drop weighed thousands of kilograms. All of them lingered around the clouds. As the azure dragon roared, its dragon might was unparalleled. The powerful force not only enveloped Chu Xiu, but also the entire battlefield below. It had to be known that the mysterious heaven realm was still fighting with the martial world of the lower realm. The azure dragon's attack would not distinguish between friend and foe. When that happened, everyone would die. From this, it could be seen that Bai Yuchen really wanted to die together with Chu Xiu, regardless of everything else. Bai Yuchen stood at the back. He wanted to see fear and regret in Chu Xiu's eyes. Previously, he had already admitted defeat, but Chu Xiu was so insistent and unforgiving, forcing him to such a state. So now he wanted to see if he, Chu Xiu, had any regrets. Did he regret doing things so ruthlessly? But Bai Yuchen was disappointed. There was no regret or fear in Chu Xiu's eyes. There was only endless sharpness. Chu Xiu held the formation breaker in his hand. As the saber light was unsheathed, the entire sky lit up. The bright moon covered the sun, dispersing the clouds. The sharpness of the saber intent turned into a bright moon in the sky. Even the clouds created by the azure dragon's talent were completely dispelled. The clouds parted and the moon shone brightly. The clear sky illuminating shadow. Bai Yuchen had heard of Chu Xiu's saber and knew that it was his strongest divine power, the very, very strong kind. However, Chu Xiu had not used the clear sky illuminating shadow many times. Besides the original god in the original god palace, the others who had tried this move were all dead. So no one knew what it felt like, not even Bai Yuchen. If he had known, perhaps he would not have been so confident. As Chu Xiu's formation breaker slashed out, the sharp moon in the sky was drawn in. Under the moonlight, its sharpness completely enveloped the dragon's body. As the powerful sharpness approached its body, the azure dragon immediately raised its head and roared angrily. It let out an intense roar of pain. Even if it was an ancient wild beast and a natural dragon, it would not be able to escape the clear sky illuminating shadow's attack, as long as it had a physical body. The scales on his body that he had just condensed began to crack under this powerful force. However, there was no dragon blood. Only the scales were cracking. As the scales peeled off layer by layer, even the azure dragon's primordial spirit was weakening. Forming a new layer of scales had already consumed a portion of the azure dragon's primordial spirit power. Without the support of the dragon soul, how could the scales regrow? No. Bai Yuchen roared in horror. His voice was mixed with despair and disbelief. He could not believe that his last trump card in the mysterious heaven realm, which he had kept to deal with 3 pristine palace in the future, had been defeated so easily and miserably by Chu Xiu. Before the clear sky illuminating shadow could be used to its fullest, the scales of the azure dragon had already been peeled off. Only the dragon soul and the dragon core were left. Bai Yuchen had a death wish. Even if he used the Azure Dragon's dragon soul to deal with Chu Xiu, coupled with his own strength, it would still be troublesome for Chu Xiu. After all, Chu Xiu did not have any good methods to deal with the primordial spirit body. But in the end, Bai Yuchen's actions were superfluous. Or rather, it could be said that he wanted to completely destroy Chu Xiu and the Kunlun demon sect. Hence, he chose to use his own blood essence to revive the Azure Dragon's dragon core and dragon scales in exchange for an even stronger destructive force. But in the end, he ended up being completely countered by Chu Xiu's clear sky reflecting shadow. He could feel that his clear sky illuminating shadow had reached its critical point. The third eye on Chu Xiu's forehead bloomed, and the origin power of yin and yang burst out. However, it was not used to attack others. Instead, it was used to suppress his own power. With the third eye, Chu Xiu could now use the origin power of yin and yang at will. However, if he continued to use the clear sky illuminating shadow like before, the consequences of the backlash would be terrifying. Therefore, after using the clear sky illuminating shadow halfway, and completely destroying the Azure Dragon's scale, Chu Xiu forcibly put it away. At the same time, he moved and arrived in front of the dying Azure Dragon's soul. The 6 paths of reincarnation bracelet moved, and the dragon soul and dragon core were stored inside. Chapter 1432. Bai Yuchen was really a good person. Chu Xiu could not bear to kill him. This time, other than Bai Yuchen stirring up trouble, Chu Xiu's biggest goal was to interfere with West Chu's destiny. That way, in the battle for destiny, he would be able to completely control the destiny of the 3 kingdoms. He did not expect the other party to give him a dragon soul and dragon core. Although the dragon soul was weak, it should be able to greatly increase the power of his primordial spirit after refining it. There was also the dragon core, which was an extinct existence. It could be described as a priceless treasure. After refining it, he might not even need Dugu Weiwei's blood essence to reach the peak of the 6th heavenly layer. Of course, from another perspective, this might also be one of the benefits of providence. If Chu Xiu did not make a big deal out of things, he would not have forced the mysterious heaven realm into a corner. If he did not force the mysterious heaven realm into a corner, perhaps Bai Yuchen would not have used the Azure Dragon, which he regarded as his trump card. Everything was preordained by the heavens. Only when Chu Xiu interfered did he vaguely sense the wonders of karmic luck. Chu Xiu looked at Bai Yuchen. Previously, Bai Yuchen had wanted to see remorse in Chu Xiu's eyes, but now, there was only remorse in his eyes. He did not think that it was a mistake for him to provoke 3 Pristine's palace and target Chu Xiu. For the Daluotian sects, this was already the norm and a habit. Regardless of who won or lost, they would be able to earn some benefits every time. Everyone also tacitly controlled the extent of the conflict and controlled it within a certain range. Bai Yuchen only regretted that he did not understand Chu Xiu more carefully. Chu Xiu was simply a madman. He took a small matter and escalated it to the point of no limit. It was a fight to the death, and he did not test the waters at all. If he had known earlier, even if Bai Yuchen was prepared to become enemies with Chu Xiu, he would have been prepared to completely destroy Chu Xiu. He would not have been caught off guard by Chu Xiu. However, it was useless to regret now. The mysterious heaven realm must be destroyed today. Not only would Chu Xiu want to destroy it, but the entire martial arts world would not let the mysterious heaven realm go. Ever since they descended to the lower realms, all the resentment and anger accumulated in the martial artists in the lower realms were released at that moment. Although Chu Xiu was the fuse and the mastermind behind all of this, just as Chu Xiu had said to Bai Yuchen before, he was just a person who drew his sword. Things had already reached this point. If Chu Xiu pulled out the knife, it would be impossible to take it back. Just as Chu Xiu was about to kill Bai Yuchen and put an end to everything, he suddenly paused. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the sky. The 2 ox-nosed Taoist priests from the 3 Pristine's temple still wanted to play this trick. Both sides were almost done fighting, so they came out to stop them at the critical moment. Did they want to show off and pretend to be superior? Hua Gongbi and Zheng Tai were hidden in a cloud. Seeing that Chu Xiu did not continue to make a move, the 2 of them felt a little awkward. They were actually thinking the same thing that Chu Xiu had guessed. They were prepared to wait until Bai Yuchen's life was hanging by a thread before making a move. In fact, they had already arrived when Bai Yuchen was suppressed by Chu Xiu. However, they did not make a move at that time. That was because they suddenly realized that Bai Yuchen still had some tricks up his sleeves. Although they knew that the mysterious heaven realm would never be so obedient, they also wanted to see how much Bai Yuchen had been holding back. As a result, their faces darkened with what they saw. They sealed their power into the Emperor Xiantian's Dharma form, and pretended to be at the early stage of the 8th heaven, even though they were at the peak of the 8th heaven. They had also kept the Azure Dragon soul from 10,000 years ago. It had even been nurtured to a complete level by now. It was obvious who these things were kept to deal with. They had guessed that the mysterious heaven realm would not be obedient, but they did not expect them to be so dishonest. That was why they deliberately did not make a move earlier. They were waiting for Chu Xiu to use up all the trump cards of the mysterious heaven realm. Then they would appear as the savior and stop Chu Xiu. In exchange, the mysterious heaven realm would shed tears of gratitude and earn a reputation. However, Chu Xiu had seen through their plan. This showed that the Three Pure Palace was scheming. Hua Gongbi and Zheng Tai looked at each other. Since they had been exposed, there was no point in hiding anymore. The two of them had no choice but to show themselves. Everyone, please stop. Enough people have died today. Zheng Tai sighed. His voice instantly spread throughout the battlefield. Chu Xiu waved his hand and asked his subordinates to retreat for the time being. Of course, it did not matter whether they retreated or not. After a chaotic battle, the entire mysterious heaven realm had been destroyed. 2 of the 5 martial immortals had even died. However, the miraculous thing was that Feng Yu was still alive under Chen Qingdi's iron fist. His life force was quite tenacious. Chu Xiu looked at the 2 people in front of him and sneered. Enough people have died? If the 2 of you had come out a little later, they would have all died. That's why the 2 of you have appeared at the wrong time. Hua Gongbi frowned. Chu Xiu, you've won this time. It's impressive enough. The entire mysterious heaven realm has been destroyed by you. What else do you want? Give the Three Pure Palace some face and retreat with your people. The conflict between the upper and lower realms will be eliminated. From now on, everyone will be treated equally, and we will develop the martial arts era together. Bullshit. Chu Xiu spat out these 2 words indifferently. Hua Gongbi seemed to be unable to believe his ears. He stared at Chu Xiu in a daze. What did you say? It wasn't that Hua Gongbi's ears weren't good, but he didn't expect someone of Chu Xiu's status and realm to speak such vulgar language. I said your bullsh**. Chu Xiu sneered. Your Three Pure Palace really thinks that everyone else is an idiot. Are you the only smart one? Things have already developed to this extent. The martial arts world of the lower realm, and the mysterious heaven realm almost suffered heavy losses. Yet, you guys stood out to be the saviors? You guys have taken all the fame and benefits. How can there be such a good thing in this world? Then what else do you want? Hua Gongbi said coldly. I want there to be no mysterious heaven realm in this world. Impossible. Hua Gongbi stood out and said coldly. How can the Dao sect allow you to kill wantonly? Everyone knew that the mysterious heaven realm followed the lead of the Three Pure Palace. Although the mysterious heaven realm was a little dishonest, the Three Pure Palace had to protect the mysterious heaven realm on the surface. In fact, the current situation was the best outcome for the Three Pure Palace. Although they did not get the Dao scripture of the myriad Dao heavenly palace in Chu Xiu's hands, they had exposed the mysterious heaven realm's intentions in advance. In the end, they were crippled. Then, the Three Pure Palace would protect the mysterious heaven realm, and even take it in. Everyone would be happy with the reputation and benefits. Unfortunately, Chu Xiu would not let them get what they wanted. Chu Xiu sneered and said coldly, the Dao sect does not allow wanton killing, but the martial arts world of the lower realm can be bullied wantonly? The leader of the northern region, the supreme leader of the Dao sect. The Three Pure Palace is more powerful and domineering than the mysterious heaven realm. The martial arts world of the lower realm may not be a match for the Three Pure Palace, but at this time, we do not hesitate to fight. Kill. As Chu Xiu shouted, the martial artists of the lower realm who had stopped before began to charge again. Under the leadership of Chu Xiu, They had already crippled the mysterious heaven realm. It could even be said that this group of people was now bloodshot. So what if the opponent was the three pure palace? Kill together. Chu Xiao. How dare you? Hua Gongbi could not believe that Chu Xiao did not even give the three pure palace the slightest face, and dared to kill wantonly in front of him. Hua Gongbi took a step forward in anger, and the two Dao swords behind him were already unsheathed. The two Dao swords, one black and one white, one yin and one yang, flew straight out of his hands and seemed to have turned into two flood dragons, biting towards Chu Xiao. A look of interest appeared in Chu Xiao's eyes. Hua Gongbi actually cultivated the Dao of yin and yang. In the next moment, the third eye between Chu Xiao's eyebrows opened, and the power of yin and yang turned into a divine light and roared out, completely suppressing the other party's yin and yang Dao swords. Hua Gongbi snorted coldly and formed a seal with his hands. The two Dao swords connected head to tail, and the yin and yang qi did not generate each other. Instead, they turned into a power that countered each other. With a loud bang, the power of yin and yang in the surroundings shattered and fused, turning into boundless chaos that crushed towards Chu Xiao. Hua Gongbi was indeed a martial immortal from the three pure palace. Although he rarely appeared in the pugilistic world, his understanding of the Dao far exceeded that of Bai Yuchen. Chu Xiao had the source of yin and yang, which was why he was able to completely comprehend the power of this Dao and use it to the extreme. However, Hua Gongbi had relied purely on himself to study the Dao of yin and yang, which was why he had reached such a realm. Of course, this also meant that Chu Xiao was closer to the power of the yin and yang origin of heaven and earth. Forming a seal with his hands, Chu Xiao clasped his palms together, and the power of yin and yang turned into a giant millstone of heaven and earth, crushing everything in its path. Although Chu Xiao had used the clear sky reflecting shadow just now, he had stopped halfway, so Chu Xiao still had a portion of his strength left. It was not a problem for him to continue using the mystique. Under the crushing of the millstone of heaven and earth, be it yin or yang or chaos, everything was immediately compressed and crushed. Hua Gongbi's expression suddenly changed, his face filled with disbelief. Chu Xiao was clearly from the demonic Dao. Even if his martial arts were Taoist, Buddhist, and demonic, how could he have comprehended the power of yin and yang of the Taoist lineage to such a degree, and even come up with a mystique of this level? Hua Gongbi's Taoist robe fluttered in the wind. He formed a seal with his hands, wanting to continue attacking. At the same time, Chu Xiao was prepared to use the furnace of good fortune to completely crush him. Facing such a peak 8th heaven martial immortal, the current Chu Xiao could only use his trump card and fight head-on. However, Zheng Tai could not sit still at this moment. Clouds and mist surged around him, and the wind and clouds surged. In an instant he stood in front of the two and shouted, "Enough! Stop fighting!" Zheng Tai shouted at Hua Gongbi, "Calm down. Are you going to fight to the death with Chu Xiao? Are you going to drag the three pristine temple into the fierce battle with the martial artists of the lower realm? Do you want to be like the mysterious heaven realm, completely opposing the martial arts world of the lower realm? Then what is the purpose of the three pristine temple coming to the lower realm?" Zheng Tai's series of questions finally made Hua Gongbi calm down. The three pristine temple did not come to the lower realm to be enemies with the martial arts world of the lower realm, nor did they come to invade the lower realm. They came for the orthodoxy, for the inheritance of their disciples. But now Chu Xiao had tied the entire martial arts world of the lower realm to himself. How vicious was this move? Fighting against Chu Xiao to the end was the same as fighting against the martial arts world of the lower realm to the end. Chu Xiao should be punished for his evil intentions. Zheng Tai turned around, looked at Chu Xiao, and said in a deep voice, "Cult Master Chu, although I haven't had much contact with you, I know that to be able to reach your current position from a nobody, you are definitely not a lunatic. A lunatic can be strong for a moment, but not for a lifetime. You are in charge of the demon cult, and you are the famous demon lord of the lower realm. You should know the consequences of letting the Dalyu Ocean and the lower realm fight to the death." Chu Xiao said with a faint smile, "Are you trying to kill me with flattery, Reverend? Actually, I am a lunatic. Sometimes I think too much about the gains and losses will make me hesitate. Why not go crazy? Who cares about the flood after that? As for the battle to the death between the Daluotian and the lower realm, let me put it bluntly, the Three Pristines Temple is a little too self-righteous. The Three Pristines Temple is indeed the strongest among the Daluotian. But can you represent the entire Daluotian? The Heavenly Luo Treasure Temple has just taken over the Sabodhi Monastery and the Great Light Temple. Are they willing to fight to the death with the martial arts world of the lower realm? The Star River Martial Arts Academy wants to compete for the karma of the lower realm and has offered countless conditions to recruit disciples. Are they willing to fight to the death with the martial arts world of the lower realm? The Sanskrit sect has suffered heavy losses in the Daluotian, and they still want to rely on the disciples of the lower realm to recover. Do you think they are willing to fight to the death with the martial arts world of the lower realm? Other than these large sects, there are countless small sects in the lower realm, as well as the descendants of ancient venerables. They have already established their sects in the lower realm, and have taken root in the martial arts world of the lower realm. Do you think they are willing to fight to the death with the martial arts world of the lower realm? At this point, the Three Pristines Temple can only represent yourselves, not anyone. So please remove the prefix of the Daluotian. Is the Three Pristines Temple going to intervene in this matter and fight to the death with the martial arts world of the lower realm? Chapter 1433. Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi realized that they had fallen into a trap. Previously, Hua Gongbi had thought that if Mysterious Heaven Realm was destroyed, they would step forward to protect it and gain both fame and fortune. However, they had neglected one point, which was whether Chu Xiu was willing to give them face and let them protect Mysterious Heaven Realm. Chu Xiu was willing to give them face at the World Sword Sect, because he was indeed weaker than Zheng Tai at that time. What else could he do if he didn't give them face? Furthermore, Chu Xiu's main target was the blood essence of Dugu Weiwei in the World Sword Sect. If he got it, he would have won half the battle. Now that the Taoist master was not here, Chu Xiu already had the strength to challenge a peak 8th heaven martial immortal. Moreover, he had also pulled in the entire martial world of the lower realm. In other words, he had the strength to not give the Three Pure Palace any face. Zheng Tai said in a deep voice, "Cult Master Chu, what do you want? This matter can be discussed, there's no need to go this far." Chu Xiu said indifferently, "I've said it before, I don't want Mysterious Heaven Realm to exist in this world anymore. Can you do it?" Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi looked at each other. That was exactly what they could not do. If Chu Xiu destroyed Mysterious Heaven Realm in front of them, how would Three Pristine Palace be able to save their face? If they had known this would happen, they would not have shown up. At that moment, Bai Yuchen, who had been silent all this while and his life force was almost exhausted, suddenly laughed. His laughter was extremely sad and crazy. Zheng Tai frowned. He did not have a good impression of Bai Yuchen. If it wasn't for the fact that they were both from the Dao lineage, and he had to protect the reputation of Three Pristine Palace, he would really want to see Mysterious Heaven Realm be destroyed. Bai Yuchen laughed bitterly. "I had always thought that I was a chess player. The entire myriad Tao Heavenly Palace would not be able to live to the great Luo Tian under the Three Pure Palace's schemes and pressure, but I, the Mysterious Heaven Realm, became the second in the Dao sect. After plotting and enduring for so long, I finally realized that I was wrong. All the ancestors of Mysterious Heaven Realm were wrong. If I wanted to become the supreme Dao sect, it was useless no matter how much I endured. Today, aren't I just a chess piece? The calamity that befell the profound Heaven Realm today was all because of my greed and ignorance. Chu Xiu, I'll give you an explanation if you want. Masters, our Mysterious Heaven Realm is now half crippled, and will no longer have any disloyalty. From now on, the Mysterious Heaven Realm will merge with the Three Pristines Palace, and will never betray us. I only hope that the two of you can leave one last trace of Mysterious Heaven Realm." After saying that, Bai Yuchen did not even give Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi a chance to speak. He actually crushed his own heart meridian and died. Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi simply had the urge to curse when they saw this scene. Bai Yuchen was basically forcing him to abdicate, using his life to force him to abdicate. Bai Yuchen's death had pushed them into a corner. If they couldn't protect the Mysterious Heaven Realm today, the reputation of the Three Pristine Temple would be severely damaged. For the Three Pure Palace, which stood at the peak, reputation was a practical benefit to them. Chu Xiu did not expect Bai Yuchen to be so ruthless. Bai Yuchen was similar to the past sect masters of Mysterious Heaven Realm. Although he was not weak, he was too calculative and petty. It was easy for him to plot against himself in the end. This time, he failed to plot against Chu Xiu and was forced into a dead end. Without Chu Xiu, the Three Pristine Palace would teach them a lesson when the Mysterious Heaven Realm accumulated enough strength and was ready to share the northern region with Three Pristine Palace. Although the Three Pristine Palace valued their reputation, they would not be soft-hearted at such a time. At the last step, Bai Yuchen actually became magnanimous and used his life to force the Three Pristine Palace to protect the Mysterious Heaven Realm. Zheng Tai let out a long sigh and turned to look at Chu Xiu. He said helplessly, "Cult Master Chu, you've seen it for yourself. The Three Pristine Palace must protect the Mysterious Heaven Realm. What conditions do you want? Just tell me. I believe that you made such a big fuss today, because you definitely don't want to fight to the death with my Three Pristine's palace." The martial arts forces below also looked at Chu Xiu. They believed that Chu Xiu would give them a satisfactory answer. Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "Since the Three Pristine Palace is sincere, I'm willing to take a step back. Although I was the one who provoked the incident in the Mysterious Heaven Realm today, it was caused by the conflict between the Dalyu Ocean and the lower realm. This conflict happened in the northern Yen, but I suppressed it. However, I can only protect the entire northern Yen, but not the entire martial arts world in the lower realm. In the past, when the Dalyu Ocean came to the lower realm, they once said that you and I came from the same source, but in fact some sects don't see it that way." Zheng Tai hurriedly said, "The Three Pristine Palace has always seen it that way." Chu Xiu chuckled. Only the Three Pristine Palace themselves knew whether or not they saw it that way. It doesn't matter whether the Three Pristine Palace sees it that way or not. What's important is that we need to redefine the rules. These words were previously made by the Dalyu Ocean, but to put it bluntly, the future of the martial arts world in the lower realm is built on the integrity of the Dalyu Ocean forces. Wouldn't it be terrible if you don't want to keep this promise? As the top Dalyu Ocean sect, the Three Pristine Palace hopes to announce to the world in the name of the Three Pristine Palace and the Kunlun Devil cult that the Dalyu Ocean sects are prohibited from harassing and oppressing the martial arts world in the lower realm. If there are any violations, the two sects will join forces and kill them together. Hua Gongbi snorted coldly when he heard this, and his face was full of dissatisfaction. As Chu Xiu said, whether the verbal promise should be kept or not depended entirely on whether the Three Pristine Palace and other forces wanted to keep it. But at this time, when the official document was announced to the world, the Three Pristine Palace would lose their reputation if they broke their promise. Moreover, this document had to be signed by the Kunlun Devil cult and the Three Pristine Palace together. Didn't this mean that the Kunlun Devil cult was qualified to be on par with the Three Pristine Palace? However, it could only be like this now. The Three Pristine Palace was the top Dalyu Ocean sect, but the strength of the Kunlun Devil cult was also the best in the martial arts world in the lower realm. Except for Chu Xiu's Kunlun Devil cult, no one in the martial arts world in the lower realm was qualified to sign this agreement. Zheng Tai said in a deep voice, "Okay, the Three Pristine Palace agrees." Anyway, the Three Pristine Palace had not planned to break their promise before. It was not a big deal to agree at this time, except for giving Chu Xiu a favor. The martial arts forces in the lower realm also breathed a sigh of relief. With the official promise of the Three Pristine Palace and the announcement to the world, they did not have to worry about offending a Dalyu Ocean sect in the future and being destroyed. At least there were people above to restrain them. Chu Xiu said with a smile, "Since the Three Pristine Palace has agreed, it's time to talk about the second thing." As he spoke, Chu Xiu took out the Taoist scripture of the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace and said, "The first thing is for the whole martial arts world in the lower realm, and the second thing is for me." Everyone obviously wants the Taoist scripture of the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace. Why do you still refuse? This is my second deal. Do you still want to refuse? Hua Gongbi still wanted to say something, but this time Zheng Tai interrupted him very strongly and said in a deep voice, Okay, I agree to this deal. Then I will send someone to the Daluotian 3 Pristine Palace to get the blood essence of the one from 500 years ago. Through this incident, Zhang Tai could see how ruthless Chu Xiu was. It was clearly a small matter of scheming against each other. The two sides could stand behind and be chess players. The mysterious heaven realm and the celestial master mansion could be chess pieces and let them fight at will. In the end, Chu Xiu didn't act as a chess piece or a player. Instead, he flipped the game violently. Everyone faced each other bare-chested. This was simply unreasonable. If the 3 Pristine's palace refused again this time, Chu Xiu might stir up some trouble. Anyway, the deal was a win-win situation. The 3 Pristine Palace would not suffer too much. Chu Xiu laughed and said, "You're straightforward. There's one last thing. If you agree, I will immediately leave with my people." Huo Gongbi could not help but say angrily, "Chu Xiu, you can't do it again and again. Do you really think the 3 Pristine Palace is easy to bully?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "This third thing is just to put an end to it. One of the culprits of this matter is Bai Yuchen's personal disciple, Feng Yu. Anyone in the entire mysterious heaven realm can be spared, but he must die." Everyone present immediately looked at Feng Yu, who had been seriously injured by Chen Qingdi and was still vomiting blood. The people of the martial arts world in the mortal world wanted him dead. After all, he was the first one to bully the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. The mysterious heaven realm had been destroyed, and the remaining 2 martial immortals also wanted him dead because his stupid actions had given Chu Xiu an excuse. Although with Chu Xiu's attitude, even without Feng Yu, Chu Xiu would still find other excuses to use against him. But who asked him to get himself in trouble? Even the other disciples of the mysterious heaven realm thought so. Humans are selfish. If you die, everyone else can live. So please learn from your master and die obediently. Even Zhang Tai and Huo Gongbi thought so. This matter was already a mess, and the 3 Pure Temple did not want to be entangled with Chu Xiu anymore. Therefore, the two of them looked at Feng Yu silently, hoping that he would be more responsible like Bai Yuchen and bear the karma himself in exchange for the survival of the entire mysterious heaven realm. And the end of this matter. Under everyone's gaze, Feng Yu felt like he was about to break down. He was not Bai Yuchen, and he did not carry so many things on his back. Feng Yu had always compared himself to Su Guishan of the 3 Pure Temple. He thought that if he was in the 3 Pure Temple, he would be even more outstanding than Su Guishan. But now everything was gone, and he still wanted to die? He did not want to die. With a furious roar, the black water around Feng Yu turned into a sea of blood. The power of his qi and blood burned violently, and he turned into a blood-colored rainbow, trying to escape. At this moment, Lu Jianghe sneered and took a step forward. As he formed a seal with his hand, he displayed the blood demon power to the extreme. The sea of blood around Feng Yu instantly flowed backward and enveloped his entire body, instantly exploding. With a soft bang, Feng Yu's corpse fell to the ground, turning into a dried corpse. Lu Jianghe laughed proudly and said, "You dare to play with qi and blood in front of me? Lu Jianghe, the Blood Sea Demon Venerable? How naive! This sovereign, retreat." Seeing that Feng Yu was dead, Chu Xiu waved his hand and interrupted Lu Jianghe's pretentious act. He immediately retreated with the lower realm martial artists. Lu Jianghe, that you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.